Story 1. Punish him for destroying an entire planet full of pet dinosaurs just to start over with talking monkeys with emotional issues. Who does that? Story 2. As an atheist, this would still be a step up from how I view the deity of the Abrahamic religions and most pagan deities. This is a step in the right direction. The biggest surprise would be that there is anything at all after I died. Story 3. Rewatch all Monty Python movies and specials to seek truth. Maybe he was a very naughty boy after all. Story 4. Take him to Chuck E. Cheese and get him $10 worth of tokens. Then hand him my itemized list of requests while holding a large bag filled with tokens. Story 5. Bring the child in and give him actual toys to play with. Call my fellow friends to come up with a binding power spell. Story 6. Turn the tables and create a philosophy based on how we should be good examples of what kind people are to teach others how to be a good person. Story 7. Preferable to an old man who, despite being obviously powerful, allows all the bad things to happen because he is evil. Story 8. Oh, so Gnosticism. Well, I guess I appreciate not being reborn and the freedom to engage in this very conversation. May I go now? Story 9. Become as gods. Story 10. To be honest, I will not say God is like that, but it would not be the most surprising thing. Children are seen as the most innocent people on earth and very pure. Story 11. Does it matter? It's still God. And I have been expressing my frustration throughout my life. I don't think I have any reactions that could help. Story 12. So the Alleluios were right. I can't believe that kind of people were actually right. For goodness sake. Story 13. That would be strange. We would be living in a different world, so it's hard to imagine. Perhaps I would wonder why he didn't play with us more. Story 14. I devour the infant. The succulent meat endows me with power. I then announce to the world that I am the God Emperor of mankind and begin an intergalactic crusade. Story 15. Holy cow. Douglas Adams was kind of right after all. This makes perfect sense for those of you who have read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy. If you have not, we apologize for the inconvenience. Story 16. Even so, she is just one of the gods among the multitude of deities. Even if she is the one responsible, who cares why existence chose to be as long as it is? Now that it is, I exist, you exist, and we can do many fun and great things. The world is beautiful. Story 17. Gamify it so he earns points for improving our lives. Make it engaging with all the features that captivate users in online gaming. Story 18. Hey buddy, if you let me play with your toys for a few minutes, we can go play catch. Story 19. I would ask it to end my eternal soul so I don't have to suffer what its idea of heaven would be for the rest of eternity. There is nothing to fear about non-existence. Story 20. Actual me. Does that, if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry, type laugh for a very long time. Possibly evil me. Rolls up sleeves. All right. Time to mold God's little mind. Starting with how to take care of your toys. Story 21. Called it. There's no way a deity focused on love created cancer and meteor strikes, then hid itself to cause mass confusion. It is far more likely that a deity made a real-life version of The Sims to mess with us. I can only hope this deity doesn't play their version of The Sims the way I played mine. Story 22. I have seen others mention that it is a plot from various shows. I have also seen it in the anime Ragna Crimson. A race of dragons who were living quietly while pretending to be human decides to exterminate humanity. The monarch of that group of dragons has a direct link to the dragon god, who sometimes communicates with them. It turns out that the dragon god is a child who became upset because their favorite bakery was shut down. They do not care about the loss of life for either dragons or humans. Story 23. Plot of the manga, Omi Jie Sekai wa Kawashitai Nara. However, the execution was poorly done. The main character recognizes that the focus of this post's topic is essentially defeated and unhinged. Story 24. I will make peace with the thought that he did not intend anything and was just watching me the whole time. Story 25. Realize they must not be viewed as God. As a child denotes a parent. Take a deep breath and play with them. Story 26. That's like a poem from Fernando Pessoa, a famous Portuguese poet. This is called Poem of the Baby Jesus. This is the beginning of the poem. Poem of the Baby Jesus. At noon at the end of spring, I had a dream like a photograph. I saw Jesus Christ come down to earth. He came down the hill as a child, running and rolling in the grass, picking flowers to throw away, laughing so it could be heard from afar. He had escaped from heaven. He was too much ours to pretend to be the second person of the Trinity. One day when God was sleeping and the Holy Spirit was flying, he went to the box of miracles and stole 3. Story 27. I would be quite surprised if God existed at all and would have many questions about why a child would have the ability or desire to create the universe. Then again, nothing would surprise me too much. I also have no reason to believe that a hypothetical God would be human-shaped or speak English, so I am not confident that I would ever figure that out. Story 28. If you've ever read the book of Job, God and Satan make the equivalent of an office water cooler bet. You know, that guy Job is your #1 fan, but what if you mess up his entire life on purpose? How much would he like you then? Good point. Let me find out. Basically, if you believe in the Abrahamic God, we are his playthings, more or less. Story 29. It's like when I played The Sims. I would start off normally, but then I would get bored and make everyone cheat on each other or put someone in a room and remove the door. I would kill off a character and get them to haunt the place. Story 30. As many have already commented, the Bible essentially conveyed this in advance. It's just that many people were not paying attention. Story 31. I would change his diaper, bathe him, and make him a nice bottle. He has been too cranky lately. Maybe he needs a nap. Story 32. Yeah, that will do it. I was expecting an empty chair in front of the best gaming setup and a game of The Sims left on repeat, but that will do it. Story 33. I would not be surprised to witness all the nonsense that has happened thus far, especially when reflecting on human history. Story 34. Actually, it might be true, just like the ending of Men in Black, about the different worlds and our place in a marble. Story 35. Oh God. Remember when my house was struck by lightning while the sun was shining? That was probably just the child mixing weather patterns like mixing paint colors. Story 36. It would not surprise me. Even as a Christian, I sometimes think that God is just playing The Sims. Story 37. Oh, okay. Okay. So you're just... No one is in charge of you or anything. Humanity is just your toy. All of the knowledge of existence is just... It's like we are your dolls and you are just... Okay. All right. Can we go through a highlight reel because I have questions? Story 38. There is a chapter in a book titled, Not the Bible, that describes the Creator God as a child. It explains that my toys aren't behaving correctly, saying, "It's smitten time," and then the water flows. Story 39. I don't think anyone who has read the Old Testament would expect God to know right from wrong. Or if he does know, he just doesn't care. Story 40. The game called Eternal Ring actually explores this lore. It is developed by From Software, the same company behind Elden Ring and Dark Souls. The baby does not care about life and death, and it is only through the death of his caretaker that he understands the importance of life, ultimately leading to his growth as the climax and final resolution of the game. Otherwise, everything is just another plaything. Therefore, one becomes a friend until the moment comes to make a sacrifice for the greater good of all life in the universe. Josh Stife-Hayes provides an excellent gameplay summary that conveys the lore as he plays. Story 41. I will explain to the child what a refund is and make a list of toys I want in the next life. Story 42. I will take drastic actions and then open a portal to a negative place for those I strongly oppose. Story 43. No, we do not play battleships with actual large boats and armed men on them. Story 44. Oh, sweetie. I know you didn't mean for it to go so badly. Let's clean up this mess together and talk about what safer choices you can make next time. If God is a child, they clearly need a gentle parent. Story 45. I would lose frustration with religious views about God's plan and that he sees and knows all. I would then feel completely helpless because my questions would be what came first, the chicken or the egg. The implications of my existence from either perspective would still be unsettling because it would become more evident just how much we do not know about reality. Story 46. I thought this as a child growing up in the church. I told the adults, it seems like God is a child playing with Barbie dolls. Story 47. I would ask him to set up a battle royale similar to a tournament of power against all the different universes. Each universe that loses has its timeline completely erased from existence. The last one standing wins and earns the right to make one wish. Story 48. Can I defeat it? I would defeat it. I don't care if it's a final boss from a fantasy game shooting lightning from its eyes or a toddler. I would defeat anything. No hesitation. Annoying individual. Story 49. Makes no sense is what I'm saying. How could someone not know right from wrong and yet be able to create a universe with relatively few bugs? It just doesn't add up. Also, what are you supposed to do in this case? Where is everyone else? Story 50. Well, that makes sense. Of course, the unjust things happening were controlled by a child. It's also funny that a lot of people followed a child, proof that they are less informed than children. Story 51. This was very wrong and you need a timeout. Put the world back as it should be, ensure all your toys are equal, and go take a nap. Story 52. That is not different from the Lila doctrine in some schools of Hinduism, which states that all of creation is simply God playing. Story 53. If I discover after my death that God is a child who does not understand right from wrong and everything is merely a toy, I will be both shocked and absurd. However, I will also feel relieved. In life, we cannot control the Creator's intentions, but we can control our own choices. I have endeavored to pursue kindness, love, and meaning, and these experiences hold value in themselves. Perhaps God is a child, but our life journey remains real and precious. The people we have loved and the things we have done are unique and will not lose their significance due to God's perspective. Story 54. I guess I owe an apology to all those people I mocked for worshiping Donald Trump as if he were the second coming of Christ. Story 55. You may be surprised that God is real for a moment. I am an agnostic. Then you might think, well, that makes too much sense. Story 56. Like many others have already said, I wouldn't be surprised. Ever since I started playing The Sims, I've assumed God must be a player of The Sims. Story 57. Assuming atheism isn't the reality, you may die and discover that God, or what we might refer to as God, is actually a part of you in some sense. However, if I found out it was actually some child doing that, I wouldn't be surprised either. Story 58. OP thinks they are being funny, but has anyone really taken a look around lately? You don't even have to look very hard or for that long. Story 59. By eliminating the Reaper threat and returning universal civilization to pre-mass relay technology. Story 60. In the show Preacher, God was not a child but exhibited emotional maturity similar to one. I appreciated the show's portrayal of this, highlighting that he was not the most powerful of all beings, as characters like Genesis and the Saint of Killers were stronger. Story 61. It would explain a lot, that's for sure. I'm sure I've seen an anime or two where this was basically the plot. Story 62. Do not be surprised. In fact, I am thankful that I got to play with all the other cool tools from the inside. This idea is essentially cosmic horror, but in a way that is endearing. Story 63. I react with very little surprise, given that if all of this is part of a design, it is clearly a capricious design, if not a wholly arbitrary one. I am going to do botflies and childhood cancer. Why? Because I am not concerned. Story 64. I have always maintained that if such a deity exists, they are a petulant toddler, so it is no surprise. Story 65. I have passed away. I cannot change that now, but I am grateful for having lived a fulfilling life surrounded by loved ones and having served others well. Story 66. I do not appreciate or accept this premise, for it is written, "Go from the presence of a foolish man when you do not perceive in him the lips of knowledge." Proverbs 14 verse 7. It is further written, "Hell and destruction are before the Lord. How much more then the hearts of the children of man?" Proverbs 15 verse 11. So there are your answers in Scripture. Take them as you will. However, having had the experience of dying and returning to the living, I have a different understanding. Story 67. Convince him to grant me his power. If God were an immoral child, surely I could manage a better job, right? I think so. I believe that makes sense. Story 68. The concept of God plays out across eternity. Why would God be bound to right and wrong? What would be considered right and wrong to a supreme being that transcends time and space? Story 69. I would be its parent. All that power needs to be in the hands of a responsible adult, not a child. Story 70. When I consider what I believe God might be like if it were real, I often imagine a teenager playing an expansive game of The Sims. Story 71. I don't react. I'm dead. God doesn't exist, and there is no afterlife. Warning spoiler. Santa Claus doesn't exist either. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.